This is my latest foray into the world of coffee. Taylors of Harrogate, rich Italian.
Nice.
Ground roast coffee for.
I've actually been to Taylors of Harrogate. It's a very nice place, very interesting organisation as well.
Purveyors of the finest coffee.
Indeed, sir.
Yes. So the topic for today is about mental health.
Okay.
Seeing as we've got Blue Monday coming up, today's obviously the 15th.
Yeah.
In 2 days we have Blue Monday, which has become an annual event that annoys me somewhat, that we have to focus every year in January on a day where we have to point out to people that you're going to be depressed and broke.
Yeah.
And feel very good about yourself.
So is this the most it's supposed to be the most depressing day of the year, is it? Where
yeah, I think it's sort of, I think over time people have, kind of pinpointed that day, particularly after Christmas, for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure who started it. I mean, Blue Monday to me was synonymous with New Order, that was a band from the 80s from Manchester. Wrote a song called Blue Monday.
Yeah, more music to cheer you up then, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite a jolly tune. And then, some years later, we end up in a state where Blue Monday is actually given to a day in a month that is, all about being depressed and broke. So I'll have to look it up. But I saw a post on LinkedIn the other day, which I'll put in the comments below for people to reference. But yeah, I don't know if there's an antidote to Blue Monday.
There is indeed an antidote, Rian, and I went onto the interweb and found the antidote, but unfortunately, you've got to wait until July the 14th for the happiest day of the year.
All right. Okay.
So if we were relying upon these mandatory dates, we'd be stuffed, really, wouldn't we?
Yeah. With the way things are being in lockdown, it's a little bit Groundhog Day for many people. So whether it's Blue Monday or not, I mean, one of the things I try to do is add a bit of variety to the day. It doesn't really matter what that is. But you could be variety in what you're drinking on the day in terms of the type of coffee, or what you're going to have for lunch, or
Absolutely.
what you watch on TV. But one of the I have sort of a rule around mental health that guides me, and it's the 3 Fs.
Okay, I'd be interested in knowing what the 3 Fs.
So the first F is faith.
Yeah.
So having some kind of faith, whether that's a religious faith or faith in yourself or faith in something that you believe in. The second one for me is family. So family makes me feel, being part of something bigger. And then the third one is about future, and just constantly thinking about, what's coming next. And although you can't control the future, it's something that you can plan for and, kind of focus on. So, so every day for me is a 3F day as opposed to a Blue Monday day.
That's really interesting. And so important, those 3 foundations, really. And I would completely go along with that. It was interesting because Spotify, they send an email to you to tell you what your songs of the year were for last year. I love all this data and analytics. It's great, because it just tells. And it was interesting. I hadn't realised, but looking back, I won't say who the artist was or the songs or whatever, but all the songs that I most listened to last year were songs about faith, family, and future. It was all based around hope and better days. And that's interesting, isn't it? So I didn't go out with that sole intention to do that, but I'd completely forgotten. And you don't realise. And Spotify just brought that to my attention. I thought, well, that is interesting.
Yeah.
That in the dark days we do reach out for something that is steadfast and stable and that can help us into the future. So
yeah, no, that's an interesting experience, isn't it? I mean, I think Spotify obviously is all about, kind of your music, your playlists, and what you like to listen to. And music in itself, I think, is a fantastic way of getting some kind of therapy and disconnecting from, your world. I mean, last night I felt like I wanted loads of sun and a bit of fun because, every day was, as I've mentioned before, was becoming like a Groundhog Day. And I suddenly got to a stage last night where it was, I need to kind of break out of this. So I said to my wife, I said, let's just go out for a drive. And just having a bit of time with her without the kids was a great leveler, really. That was just half an hour in the car, came back. But one of my kind of guilty pleasures as well at the moment is Netflix. I love Netflix. So I've watched some great films recently, and a lot of the times it's not about watching stuff that's going to make you think necessarily. It's just, a bit of escapism.
Yeah.
Getting away from the daily drudgery of lockdown. But yeah, it's an interesting period that we live in. But I think mental health has been a problem for many, many people, even before lockdown. I think lockdown has basically brought it more to the fore and maybe, hit a critical point with some individuals, and certainly with organizations. They've come to realize that, mental health is actually a bigger issue than what they thought it was.
Yeah, it's just come to me actually. As a child, you okay? There are youngsters nowadays who will, are suffering mental health issues, and especially with these restrictions and the changes. But I can remember being as a child, living through the early 70s and the short time working and 3-day weeks and power cuts and all that sort of thing. That must have been a great burden to my parents, but I was completely oblivious to the fact that all the electricity's gone off. But the stress and the pressure that they must have been under during those dark days. As a child, it just bypassed you. As long as you could go out to play, and as long as you got something to eat, you were fine. And I don't know. I just wonder whether, I don't know what I'm trying to say really. Whether we need to almost grasp hold of that youth in a sense, that outlook, carefree outlook in a way. I went out for a walk a couple of weeks ago at lunchtime, and the canal where I live, there was Venice. It's almost Venice.
And Venice, North Staffordshire.
Yeah, and the canal was really clear. So I walked down, and you could see the bottom. It was a nightmare for fishermen because the fish could see you, and you'd got no chance. And so I, as I was walking, I was just looking, and there was a pike just still in the water. And I would say 9 or 10 pounder. It was a big one. And I was absolutely, for a moment, I was transfixed by this pike. So for just a moment in time, there was me and there was a pike, and I was just looking at. I was almost like became a child again, fascinated with this pike. And then the adult sort of kicked in, and I thought, oh, I'll take a photograph with my iPhone. The moment I moved my hand, guess what happened? The pike just shot.
Yeah.
And I'd learned a lesson there. Just leave your iPhone, forget that, just enjoy the moment. Yeah. And then I think it might have been the same. It was actually the same day. I walked down the canal and I was walking back, and there was a silver birch tree, and there was a robin in this tree. And I have never heard a song like it. It stopped me in my tracks. And so I just stood there for a minute while this robin was just singing away. And the guy that was coming the opposite direction, and he said that he stopped as well, and he says it's winter song. And again,
yeah,
it
it's
just
having it's having
just talk
those.
to me.
It's really interesting because I read somewhere recently that when you're out and about and just immersing yourself in nature is actually one of the best things that you can do.
Yeah.
I'll go out for a walk, at lunchtime maybe. But one of the things I do is I'll decide I want to listen to a podcast because I want to learn something. Well, actually, you can learn so much more about yourself by being in the open doors and the environment that you're in and learning about the environment and, hearing a bit of bird song or seeing, the pike in the canal.
Yeah.
That in itself is is a fantastic experience. We don't have to record everything. And we can, record it artificially. I mean, record it in our memories, I think.
Absolutely. That's the
Far more
best.
important. But going back to your original point about, the what I believe people term the winter of discontent. And although I hate the labeling of certain days in January, as I mentioned, I have been using the term the winter of discontent, which I think is possibly, a term that could be used to describe the period that we're in at the moment. But, it does bring negative connotations. But I, as a child, remember it being exciting, when the electricity was being cut off. But clearly, my parents were probably under a lot of pressure at the time, making sure they had clothes on our backs and food on the table. So a lot to be grateful for, really.
Do you know something, though, Rian? Winter of discontent. The opposite to discontent is contentness.
Yeah.
And there are people in this world today who have no roof over their heads. They've got no food for their stomach. And so we are really blessed, and we should be grateful for the house that we live in, the houses that we live in, the food that we have. We wake up in the morning and we have breakfast and we start our day. That the winter of discontent can't exist with that mindset of I'm contented. I've got food. Yeah. I've got food for today. I've got warmth. I'm contented. So we should have a winter of content, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can't disagree with that. It's having a mindset and psychology that focuses on what you do have and not what you don't. And I think
and then to go out and think of the people that haven't got those things and see what you can do to in a positive way. Yeah. And that takes the attention off yourself then.
There's always someone a lot more worse off than you. So that's converged our discussion today to a nice positive point of being content, being satisfied with what you do have.
Absolutely.
And we'll hopefully finish our conversation on that positive point. So it's been great speaking to you today, Gary.
Yeah, and have a great Monday.
A great Monday. Happy Monday, indeed.
Happy Monday. Yeah, that's the one. Happy Mondays.